Good evening. Excuse me. Good start. Good evening and welcome back, everyone. I'm Bruce. Zoe is ready to be savage. Meow. See how savage she is? Yeah, not so savage. How's everyone doing tonight? Hopefully everyone's had a good retro time the last week. The video was well received on this card, which was awesome. It really took off from my perspective. So it's really fun to see the hardware paid off on making that video, because it was a bit of a slog to get it done, like many of these big videos, if you will. So, of course, when we make a video, we got to stream with the thing I made a video on. And that means we're streaming in a savage fashion tonight. Evening C Bluebeard, happy Thursday indeed. So, probably a lot of people are familiar with the Savage card so far. I'm not sure if anyone here has actually used one or not. I know, Bruce, you were giving us some ideas there on running Shogo, for example, and disabling fog. There are some things with quirks with this card that, of course, are a little different than what we might be used to with the NVIDIA and 3D effects fair at the same time. Cat fur everywhere. Anyway, so we're streaming today on the Pentium 3 700, which is the same machine I used for the video, which has that Savage 4 card installed, of course, then. And it's actually a quite good card. I was not really familiar or aware of this card at all back when this was new. But I remember watching a few years ago, LGR did a video on it, unboxing and installing a new in-box setup for this card, which is the Diamond Stealth S540, S3 540, I think. Yeah, and that's what this card is as well. That's in the machine right now. And I do have, listen and watch the video, I do have this model of the card as well. I can put it on the action camera as you can see closer, but this card... Closer, yeah, that didn't work out. Anyway, this card is the extreme version of this card, which unfortunately I cannot get to initialize or boot. Otherwise, I will be running with this tonight as well. But I think this card is just toast, because I've known with other people, this is a DVI out, so I think this was like a later server version of the card. And you're supposed to use just a DVI to VGA and it runs just fine, but no, I can't get this. Any machine I put this in just goes into a beep code of VGA error when you try and boot it. So I think this card is just toast, basically. But it's like an OEM number 9 AGP video card, so might be able to find another one. But the Savage chipset is on quite a few cards, at least the S3 540 cards are the ones you see most of the time. This is the 16 megabyte model, and there's a 32 megabyte model and a plus version, a few different versions, and it's, you know, it was nice to see what Savage, or sorry, what S3 was hoping to do, but never got to it. So we'll poke around a little bit with the card and see. I will, of course, cover quite a bit of that in the video, but at the same time, I didn't get a chance to just kind of show more of it. So we'll do that tonight. So I'm not sure if anyone in chat here, or anyone has ever used the Savage 4 card at all, or maybe someone is expert at it or familiar with it or whatever. It's a good start when the computer appears to be frozen. I think it's time for a reboot. I can move the mouse around. That's a good sign. I was messing with MIDI settings earlier, and apparently that was taunting the retro gods too much, and it actually froze up here, so... I'll just reboot. It's Windows 98. Yeah, that is not an indication of the video card itself or anything. That was just me messing with the MIDI settings. For those who are familiar, I am using a little bit different capture device tonight, which is why you're going to see some weird stuff with the capture. Some of you are probably aware of why that is and what's going on. And long story short, I bought a second hard drive for my M2 slot on my motherboard, but I disabled the PCI Express lane that has my data path capture card in it. So, like, well, that's not good. So I ended up ordering a PCI adapter thing, so I can deal with that later to get the hard drive back up. But it means I'm using my Startic external capture card, and it does not like resolution changes, so I have to go kind of mess with that when it happens. There we go. All right. Should be coming back there now, hopefully no buffering. Yeah, I think there's something with AV1. There's a bug or something that caused it to freeze up completely. I'm streaming with AV1, which of course worked fine 2 streams ago. And now I'm just having some... We had it last time too. Basically just tanks. The bandwidth is fine. But the kilobit rate up goes down to a very fixed value, which leads me to believe there's a bug or something. I entered OBS how it handles AV1 or something with the video card driver. So, but yeah. The Viper E550, that is the TNT1, right? Or am I wrong? Because the 770 is the TNT2, and I thought the V550 is the TNT1. It's very comparable, and very like a direct competitor. The TNT1 cards for sure. Yeah, exactly. The TNT1 cards were direct competitors. I actually have a V550 sitting back here that I use for the testing for this video. But it is directly comparable, was a direct competitor, as was the 3DFX Voodoo 3, the 2000 model. But we're going to poke around a little bit in the driver settings and show, like, the things with the Savage 4. Oh, okay, you did have one, Bruce. Nice. It's not a bad card, but I think it was just a little too late for S3 because, you know, people had, like, a bad taste in their mouth from the Verge cards, especially on the 3D front. These didn't do 3D very well, excuse me. And then Savage 4 came out, and it's like, or sorry, the Savage 3D came first, and that was just not good enough at that point. Savage 4 is almost what the Savage 3D should have been. So taken in a vacuum, I think this is a fantastic card. It does a lot of really neat stuff, and I think it could very easily have a permanent home in a retro computer. You could be happy with it as a retro card if you take it for what it is and not expect it to be, you know, outgunning a TNT2 and all that stuff, right? So it's kind of like overshadowed in that sense, but it has some really neat things going for it, which we'll explore tonight. I do cover them in a video, but we'll explore a little more tonight. First off, we're going to take a look at the driver settings here, which are very bare bones. There's literally nothing to set here. This one doesn't even have an S-video out on this card, so there's nothing to set here at all. Virtually nothing. We can just see that it's the Savage 4 family, 16 megabytes. And yeah, this is a compact OEM version of the card, which clearly was sold with compact or with a compact machine. And something that seemed to happen a lot in the 90s. Sorry, cat hair everywhere. Something that seemed to happen a lot in the 90s was that when a chip maker or a chip started like falling out of favor or whatever, they started selling it to server purposes, which makes sense. They don't need a lot of horsepower. So I think a lot of these cards we see, for example, this Extreme card, right? This one here, the OEM one, is clearly something that was used later for like workstation duties and that kind of stuff. This was not marketed as a gaming one. There's a DVI port on it for this era was very rare and only DVI. So this is clearly like a server or like workstation application version. I think it's a Dell OEM or something like that, right? Has a Dell part number on it. And that's what happened a lot of the time. I think that's kind of where a lot of the Savage 3 or Savage 4 cards ended up, unfortunately, at the end. So we're using those chips. Even Doppler, welcome. So yeah, there's almost nothing to look at here. I do have PowerStrip installed, which gives us a little more information, but not a heck of a lot. There just isn't much you can do with this card, at least with the default drivers. And these are using, I believe, if I remember right, these are not Diamond-specific drivers. They are driver, kind of like generic one from S3, the latest ones in question. So we can look at adapter information, and will tell us a little bit about it, but well, it tells a lot about it. But of course, it is a DirectX compatible card. It's OpenGL compatible card. It does everything you would want from that era, and you know, of course, no glide because it's not proprietary for that, right? But it does have its own API, the Metal API, which we're going to explore tonight and check out some of the games. So again, like, keep in mind, like, if you put this next to other cards with the same era, it kind of falters. Like, it's not quite as good on a lot of them. But taken by itself, especially play just a smidge older games, it's a perfectly fine card. You know, I don't know. There's a lot of settings in here that I do not know, and probably feel like you're going to make horribly unstable with changing all this stuff. So PowerStrip is always one of those things where it's like you never know what you're going to change or what will break when you do it. So, and maybe someone knows it better than I do, but as far as the performance goes, if the screen wants to open up, guess not. Oh, performance default. Sorry, I did the wrong one. Configure. We are running 125 megahertz on the clock, on the core, and then the memory is running 143. So it is asynchronous. It is not synchronized. And yeah, I'm not gonna like crank it up to break it or anything. So I like this card quite a bit. You mean Turk 10? Nice. Wow, yeah, 2 Voodoo 2. I think we haven't had, I think Ted used to join the stream here for a while. It's been a while now, but I think he also bought 2 Voodoo 2s when they were new as well. I think he still had them. Maybe it was Dermot. I can't remember. Either way, someone had a dual or SLI Voodoo 2s, and that's pretty amazing. So, um, yeah, that's the thing. Like, when you had a machine that couldn't game whatever, and it's funny because I mention this a lot of times too. It's like you gamed on whatever you had, and especially in the beginning when you were young, maybe if that was the era you were young in, you didn't like. It wasn't like you're sitting like, oh man, I wish this was fast. You just played it, and it was amazing that it ran. Right? It's not until you got newer ones that's when you started realizing that while the performance may have been not the best. So, but we're leaving this as stock. I'm not going to overclock this card. I don't think it's much of an overclocker based on looking at old reviews as well. I mean, it's got a passive cooling on it. It was not really a card meant for high performance. It was built to a cost, and that was considerably lower than the competition, from what I understand. Considerably lower, especially then you look at like what you paid for a frame or whatever. It was better on these cards than a lot of the other ones. TNT2 Ultra at the time was the top dog, but that one cost like 2 times as much, not more, 3 times maybe. Yes, exactly, good point, Topper. There's just no point in doing that anymore. It's fun to see what might work, but at the same time, like, you take a card that's kind of vintage, is it worth overclocking it? Not really, because you're right, you can just go 1 generation newer, 2 or 3 generation newer to get way faster. What are you getting out of it, So, we will take a look at a few unique things with the Savage 4 cards. Oh, that's too bad, Turkton. Yeah, I still have my Voodoo 1 that's in my other stream machine here. I'm not sure if you watched the stream before, but my pension machine has my original Voodoo 1 card in it still. And that's my original only one that I had when I was younger. The Voodoo 2 I picked up later before they were valuable. They were just sitting in a recycle bin, and people were like, oh, you want it? I'm like, sure. It was before even I was into retro again, Yeah, that's the thing. Glide was just fantastic. When you look back at it now, especially looking at some of these other supports or whatever that I'm going to look at tonight with the metal stuff, but Glide was just so... It's easy to forget how good Glide was, and it was in everything. I mean, literally everything. Right? So the first thing we're going to look at tonight anyway is something that's unique to the Savage 4 cards, or at least the Savage cards, and that is the Savage Island demo, which is basically a tech demo. Some lovely rendered 90s lady here. Turn it down. I'm gonna let this play for a little bit because this is actually hands-off right now. You can control this, so we'll hop into controlling later. But this is very interesting and fascinating because if you take other cards in this era here in 1999, the texture quality here is considerably higher because this requires S3TC, which is the S3 texture compression. So this really blew a lot of the other textures out of the water until DirectX and OpenGL adopted the same standard or used compressed textures in a similar fashion. So right now, if you look back at this particular demo, this really showed what the Savage 4 card was capable of and what they had in the pipeline. But, it doesn't matter if you have a good product, you need good support too, which is what Glide had with, or 3DFX had with Glide, which of course is, it just was the best proprietary API. But even though this looks like a tech demo, this could very easily be like a Lara Croft style game, right? So, so there is like the hint that it could have been more, but I'm sure most of you are aware too that you had the Savage 4 in Extreme, and that was the top dog. And then the 2000 came out, which by itself is a fast card when it works, but then the drivers for it and the card was just not finished. There's plenty of videos on that too, and I hope to get a Savage 2000 at one point. Because it's a unfulfilled card in the sense that it just has broken DirectX support, which breaks a lot of games. So, that's where it gets to... You get the kind of the surface layer where I understand the technology and know how to use it, but then you start digging through it. I'm not a developer. I'm not a hardware engineer, right? So I don't know exactly how they compressed it, but I do know that was the foundation for basically all texture compression happening in later, or DirectX and OpenGL later on. I think it was a lossy compression, but it's just so good that it basically gives you cleaner textures. The end result is, for the user perspective, is better textures. This is running a 640 by 480 right now. We can change the settings. I'm just going to let the loop a little bit so we can see. And here it runs perfectly fine and smooth, but, you know, it's a controlled environment, and yes, you're a mermaid now, for reasons. You can also fly later, so... I mean, it looks good. And I think that... And there's whales. You take the Savage 4 by itself, and now you have wings that can fly for reasons as well. You take the Savage 4 by itself, it's a cool card, but you definitely notice, like, the seams a little bit sometimes. I don't mean, like, literal seams with polygons, but there's flickering textures here and there. There's some stuff that you think that would be fine that isn't, so we'll go into the interactive version here. And now I can actually control this lady here. I can walk and run. I can also... Yeah, there we go. I can actually change the resolution here. We can go to 800 by 600. It's 16-bit. Well, you know, 32-bit, because this card supports 32-bits, and that's something that Voodoo, of course, did not have. Even then, it runs okay. You can change the viewpoint. You have a fixed camera here, as you probably see. That was my Twitter picture was from this demo here now. And it's pretty funny how lighting has improved so much. I mean, the shadow on the ground is great, but look at the lighting on the character. It's completely flat. That's the stuff you forget now playing modern games. When you look back at the old games, how lighting has evolved so much in gaming, right? But you can also look around. Look at that lens flare. Oh, burn those retinas. Look at that lens flare. That is an epic, completely natural lens flare. Oh, I gobbled this up back then, though. It was so cool to have this kind of fidelity. There's the camera. Okay. So yeah, you can run around and explore the different areas. You can also jump directly to them. Exactly, yeah. And it's just, that's the thing, too, is like you forget how good lighting is, like mentioned. And especially if you play something with good real-time ray tracing. I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077 on the Ultra ray tracing, not the Psycho, but even turning on the Psycho, it looks just so natural, everything, right? You get the reflective bounces and colors bleeding off different things, and it looks really, really good. And that's kind of, you know, that's the future of lighting, I think, so. But it's a fascinating one. I think this was only included on the driver disc for the Diamond S3 540. Certain versions of it. There's definitely slogging, and you can see there's some weird texture pop-in stuff. This was not packaged with this particular card. It was with the 32 megabyte, I think, the Pro Plus model that actually came with this, or came with this demo. But we even got a reflection, of course. That's just probably an entire environment rendered again in the mirrored image here. I kind of did mirror images a lot of times. I can't remember the cube map or whatever they call it. I'm terrible with technological or technical description of some of the stuff. You can, unfortunately, you can fall off on some stuff, but it's pretty limited. Look at that. Woo, can see the seam. And that's the thing, too. You look at it, it's like, that's a good deal when you think about it. That's a lot of card for the money. It's like, yeah, there were competitors that were stronger and better and faster and stuff, but, like, for what it was not a bad card. It's just like, I remember being back then, too. It's like, of course, you wanted the latest and greatest. For $100, that's a lot of video card. You cannot fall off here at all. Unfortunately, you cannot run into lava. Sorry. Like a standing joke on this channel here, that I fell in lava a lot of times streaming in the beginning. Fortunately, I haven't fallen in too much lava for a while now. I think we're streaming Unreal way back. Good question. What's the objective? Is 100% running through all environments? Because you can run. Whoa! Look at that. Whoa, we're getting some... Yeah, it's a demo, right? So it's not exactly like designed to be a game. So yeah, it's definitely come part of the theme sometimes. You got a little audio getting like the fire here, burning a little crispy. Close look at that fire. Got a close look at that. Look at that extremely realistic natural fire. Remember, this was probably made like in 1998 or, you know. Basically, yeah. And it's funny how I'm getting there myself. Playing stuff is trying to avoid looking at the FPS meter. I do it sometimes when I tweak a game, and then I turn it off once I'm happy with the performance, because you can go crazy looking at the FPS numbers when, and eventually, it's, you know, it's fine. Eating BLT, welcome. Yep, and we're even running at a higher resolution, so we're gonna jump. Whee! And now we're a mermaid. Look at the animation. You can actually free move here a little bit. It's super jank because it's a, whoa. Because it's a demo. Yep, 800 by 600 right now. I think you can get up here. I cannot, I'm stuck. Maybe you have to swim the other way. Oh, is there a tunnel here? I see. You're not supposed to. That's true. Look at this. Controls are quite terrible. I think I might be inverted or something here. Reminds me of the underwater sections in Dark Ages Camelot in one of the expansions. Got a whale, y'all. And it showcases what it could do, and now we can fly. Whee! So that's pretty much the whole tech demo. You can change some settings. And yeah, oh, look at that. The far rendering there is not doing so hot there. It's like the aliasing there is severe, or like it just, I don't know what you call it, but the smoothing or the blending of the texture levels there. But it is coming in for landing. Can I land? Can I land? Oof! Why, you fool? It's pretty jank. But it's still, I mean, this is impressive. Because you gotta remember, like, what the other cards could do at the time, too. Can I land? I am flying backwards. Which is a natural thing for birds to do, as we all know they can reverse at will. They just don't want to. I don't think I tried it this much. You can, unfortunately, there might be a specific spot they want me to land. You can, unfortunately, just press the 1 button or 2 button. It will jump you around to different environments, just like this. So, and I think, eating words and stuff. Let's see, we can set the different settings here. We can have effects to high. We can go lower, so we get a little more performance. And, yeah, trolling and filtering. And now we can change the settings here to get a little more performance, perhaps. You can set the settings a little bit, but it's still like a neat thing. You can tell it was more S3 trying to show, like, hey, we can do these things. I feel like I'm in a Myst game right now. You know, we can do these things, so if you program this into your game, you can really show what the fidelity, because, I mean, textures like this was not really available in any other card. I mean, this is really sharp for being 1999, especially compared to the Voodoo 3, for example, which, to me, has pretty blurry texture support there. It's just higher resolution textures. But yeah, that's the entire demo. You've seen pretty much all there is to see about the demo. So there are a few other games that have specific Savage 3 modes, and we'll check out a few of them. And we'll hop into something else, which I think is a bit interesting, because someone actually modded in Metal, which is the special API, into GL Quake. So in this case here, we're going to run GL Quake using the Metal API. And right now, then, we're running GL Quake with Metal. You will notice a few things immediately as it's playing here, and we're going to play too, but... And it plays just fine. It's Metal. Super Metal. But what they have done here now, there's, of course, there's several games that support... what they're using is basically like, it's not a wrapper per se, but it's basically using a... kind of like a redirect, I think. A Metal API is being redirected from OpenGL, so the OpenGL renderer is being retargeted. So, I mean, kind of wrapper, so... yeah, words and stuff. You'll see the specs here in a second. I'll cycle through them here now. Let me find it. Here we go. So, yeah, we're playing on a Pentium 3 700, with the S3 Savage 4 being the topic of tonight for this stream, which is the original hardware for that video card. You know, that's what I wonder. I know that Tomb Raider has the patch for the Verge, right? But does it have it for Savage as well? I wasn't sure, but you might be right there. I thought I had grabbed most of the stuff around the Savage stuff. Metal. Hang on, I need to enable metal. There we go. I gotta show in case it is metal, right? But here in this case, here, the Savage 4, you know, does a great job. But then again, anything that had OpenGL around this era would have played, you know, Quake just flawlessly, basically. Or GL Quake. There's actually some glitches, too. Notice the ammo counter in the bottom right corner there. It actually... It is flickering a lot. And I think that's just, you know, this is a custom wrapped... Oh, I have metal. Too much metal. You can see the shotgun shell number there. It's going bonkers. And, you know, this is basically a homebrew wrapper to allow the metal API to intercept the OpenGL calls. So there's possibility there. If anyone wanted to develop more for it, I'm sure it's possible, but where's the drive or desire to do that? But that's where a card like this, like, it runs great in this sort of setup when the game is a bit older. But, of course, this is not something I think that was available, you know, in the beginning, or originally. This came after the fact. Some crafty modders or homebrew community took care of that, so... yeah, so I actually have streamed with the S3 before, and it actually uses proprietary special patch versions of the games. I don't remember if the Verge has its own API name, but I think it's just S3 acceleration, but it's completely custom to the Verge cards. So it's not like portable or like adaptable or usable on the other S3 cards. It's the Verge one. It's like a Verge-specific version of Tomb Raider. So we did play that one, but that is to say it could very well be a version of that too that I missed that supports this, so I don't want to discount it either. Here, again, this is not natively supported by GL Quake at all. You could, of course, run this in OpenGL mode, you know, standard. That's fine. This card does support OpenGL as well, but it's kind of neater to see the metal API being used directly. And it works. Besides the glitching, look at the character portrait down there when it takes damage and stuff. It goes just nuts. But, I mean, it works. So there's the possibility here, and it runs smooth, too. So you can see the flickering down on the status bar there, just going nuts. And that's, of course, just a, you know, just a bug in the rendering. And that's, again, to be expected, because this is just custom homebrew stuff. But, you know, other than that, it plays just fine, so... But again, you could have just done this with OpenGL. And that's where I think this card kind of shines in that sense. It's like you have the neat stuff, the custom stuff, but you also have just generic OpenGL and DirectX support. So there's a lot of games and experiences you can have. What's the command for changing map? I don't remember. You remember? Because I can't remember. Is it just map? Because I don't remember. Evening XT Solar? You know, I don't remember on that one. It's very possible. I think you might be right. I seem to remember we did test it on the Verge version. And I don't think the one, at least in the beginning level, is just E1, M1. Oh, that was easy. Oh, we're, this one, yeah. Because you remember, we're running now at, let's see, what resolution are we at? Yeah, 800 by 600 at 16-bit. So, I mean, nothing. And it runs quite well. Now, if you had an FPS counter up, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit all over the place, especially looking at the wide open area here. But, I mean, other than that, it runs terrific, I would say. I mean, this is more than acceptable way to play this. Again, using the custom one, right? You could just play this in OpenGL mode, and then it might be just as fast. But because the thing I've noticed with the Metal API so far is that in some games, it's not faster than OpenGL. You know, they probably have aspirations for it to be faster. Inisuka, welcome. They probably had aspirations for it to be faster and better, like, you know, Glide. But that's not always the case. Whee! at those jerks. Because metal is promising in that sense, but of course it can't overcome the speed of the card itself. Like, we're running 125 megahertz, so and yeah, that's the thing. Like any API, right? You look at, we talked about it earlier here in the stream, but like you look at Glide. Glide was adopted by everything. I mean, every game. Hang on, Sucra. Observe the bottom right corner of the screen in case you had a question if this is metal or not. It is in fact metal because it says metal. Metal! Anyway. I had to make fun of that constantly in the video, obviously, and I had 100% making a funny joke at every time I say metal. Hang on. I'm going to do this here. There's Sucra. Do you have any questions if this is metal or not? I just, in case, you know, anyone's confused. Eating my boy. Yeah. And, you know, the question is, like, you get to look at that, and it makes me feel, it makes me feel sad in the sense that it may have had a chance to get there eventually, right, with enough support, but an S3 just, I mean, I'm sure there's more to it than that. I'm not familiar with the entire S3, how they kind of collapsed, right, and got chopped up. But the competition was brutal at that time. You look at it, yeah, Glide was dominating the custom market, and then you had NVIDIA coming in like a freaking, I mean, just crazy. They were kicking out new cards at higher and higher performance constantly. I mean, there was a fast-moving era of 3D accelerators, and S3 just was kind of like middle ground, so they didn't get as much attention. And, you know, the cards didn't compete with raw performance, and that's what you need to sell cards. So... Whee! I'm gonna blow myself up now. So I have no... Oh, lava! Oh, I got hit by a lava ball. Oh no! Hey, we're not gonna play Quake 1 that long. We'll hop around to a few other games to look at it. But it's just, it's one of those, like, you know, you really wish that they've had more chance to develop it. Because, I don't know what Quake Dude's doing here now. It had the potential. And it just never got to see that potential. I'm glad everyone got a chance to see me get burned to crisp by a lava ball there. And, you know, Glide was just so good. And S3 probably didn't have enough resources to do it. And, again, taken in a vacuum, this is a great card. And I think that it, you know... Like, you're right, Turkdian, it is better than it got credit for. And especially because it's overshadowed so much by Voodoo. Rightfully so, kinda, and then TNT. Welcome back, Bruce. Got more phone battery there. And it's like you can play other games too just fine, right? So, for example, if we go into... we're just going to play Half-Life here, for example. Which, that's just an OpenGL-based game, right? And it plays just fine. So I think I had a save here. I did not have a save. Of course I didn't. Why would I save? That's the fallacy of every person doing content like this, is that we have to start over and forget to have a save that gets you further into the game, right? But this game runs great on here. This is a great way to experience it. And this is OpenGL straight up, and it supports it. So you don't always have to sacrifice that much. And if you had a Savage 4 in your machine playing Half-Life, I think you had a great time. Yeah, that's very true. A lot of games seems to, at least on this card I found, seems to like OpenGL better than Direct3D. There's some games that definitely run great on Direct3D. I come to mind as Motor Racer and Motorhead, a few racing games. But a lot of these games that are Half-Life based, or not Half-Life, the Quake based games for sure prefer OpenGL. And I think that's more of an engine thing, but in this case here, I mean, I played this on TNT 1, I think, and which was fine, of course. But I think you would have a comparable experience on the Savage 4 here, just fine. And so yeah, that's the thing that when I got this card, it was more like I picked it up on a whim because it was cheap. And it's a really fun card to mess with, because it is more than a capable card of playing these things. Now, yeah, if you do performance benchmarking, side to side and everything, you know, you're probably going to have a better time on a scale in, you know, TNT or TNT2 or Voodoo 3, or faster, obviously. But the Savage 4 occupies an interesting spot in the middle.
Drinking are permitted within the Black Mesa transit system.
Another restart to stream there is right back. It's got to be something with AV1 encoding. I'm going to switch it on the fly now, but I may have dropped AV1 encoding for next time. Hopefully I'm caught up again here. But I basically see my upload rate just drop down to nothing, and I stop it and start it, and it goes right back up. So that doesn't tell, that's not a bandwidth issue. That's an encoding or something else going on. It's got to be. I think that the AV1 has a bug in it or something, because I have an RTX 4070 using the AV1 encoder for the stream, which produces really good results at a lower bandwidth utilization. But I've noticed now since I started using it, something just tanks, just drops. I got to start it again. So it might be an OBS error, because OBS is pretty green when it comes to AV1 support. It's pretty new. And then, of course, the card. So, oh yeah, you're right, XT Solar. That's right. I remember that. I was doing N64 emulation. I remember spending so much time trying to get Mario 64 to run on my PC, and messing with it back and forth and having glitches and stuff like that. It was... God, you just unlocked a memory now, how much time I spent on trying to get that to work, where I could just got on bot like I used N64 for nothing and whatever. Yeah, it was fun. Oh yeah, here, you'll definitely notice some weird glitches here and there, but it does run just fine. And I think that's the thing that this card gets overshadowed by the competition. I love the Voodoo 3 card. It's one of my favorite... Exactly. It's one of my favorite video cards, for sure. I love the Voodoo 3 because it is so flipping compatible. It's fast, you know, it's supported in so many games, and you kind of get that, you know, speed boost. Ooh, it's faster than Voodoo 2 and SLIs, I'm pretty sure, but in one card. Great image quality, just, you know, besides the 16-bit color depth. It's a great card, so I have a soft spot for that. But the Savage 4 is a fine card. Yeah, maybe 27 again. Or, I mean, yeah. Goodness. It's a long time. Interesting, Tortine. I hadn't thought about that, but it makes sense, yeah, that some cards... Because, yeah, this... Again, the Savage 4, of course, they just never got to that point where they were so broadly supported, right? Yeah, 27 seemed really old. And I also thought that too, even then, when I was younger than 27, playing this game when it came out, like, 27? 27? Like, he's a PhD, and he works at, like a deep research facility? Like, he's gotten pretty far at 27. I sure wasn't that far in my career when I was 27. Especially if he's a PhD. He just got out of school, basically, right? So... Work safe. Work smart. Your future depends on... Well, I think that, no spoilers, right, he gets frozen in time and stocked away. But if it was, you know, progressing realistically, then yeah. That's true. There's the Voodoo 4 that gets you there. Well, not everyone has a Voodoo 4, Sukra. I have a Voodoo 5 sitting on my desk right here, so... I'd like to get one eventually, too. Before exiting the train, be sure to check your area. Always make sure to stock up on Gordons. You might need more. Thank you. There's also a fine card. The VS100 or whatever is it called? The Voodoo chipset that they added in. Yeah, and it's funny too, because I have the Voodoo 5, and I know that card doesn't compare always favorably to everything else at the same time, but today I love the card because it is like, you know, the top-end Voodoo card. Besides the 6000, that's a different story. But, actually, let me double-check if we're in 32-bit color mode or not. If you can even change that here. Video modes. Yeah, we're in 800 by 600. Does this even support 32-bit color mode? I think it's 16 by default, right? I don't think you can change that. But yeah, I mean, 800 by 600, what I'm assuming is like a, you know, 30-ish or up performance rate. I mean, more than playable. I think this is probably not too far we're getting out on Voodoo too, so... Yes, exactly. The 32-bit is just so limiting in the sense that I called out that in the video that I made about this card too. How many people actually ran 32-bit color back then because the performance hit usually wasn't worth it. And they were only in certain scenarios. I mean, to me, when I had bad performance, one of the first things I did was make sure I was in 16-bit color mode, right? Because the performance offset was not worth the visual extra that you got from it. I played at the beginning of this so many times, but I mean, it plays perfectly fine. This is full OpenGL mode. And we're having some weird, like, woo,
crash about 20 minutes ago, and I'm still trying to find my files.
slowness in the frame rate there.
They were having
My God, what are you doing?
Come on, Gordon. You trying to get me into trouble?
Yes. Oh. I never knew you could do that. I also never knew that after the crash, if you come back out here, there's actually a little cutscene here, and I didn't know that too, because I always went in through the vent here like you're, you know, quote-unquote supposed to do. Look at the LOD there, the level of detail. You can see the line by the pillar, and you walk forward, you can see the line there being rendered. It's very sharp drop-off in the quality.
I'm not certain.
Yeah, that was a fun science experiment, Sukra, but yeah, that was not probably the best way to do it.
It's good to see you.
But yeah, I just wanted to showcase that just regular OpenGL game works fine. You know, you could have had a good time with this, no problem. Eating Lone Wolf, welcome. Maybe I'll save her now so we can do that. So I'm not going to linger on this game too long because it's Half-Life and everyone's seen this part. But we'll go to an S3 specific setup instead, because of course we have in the driver, Bruce. Let me show you the driver. Let me show you the driver. You have Gamma, and you have the CRT or flat panel. That's it. That's the driver for the Savage 4, and this is a huge downfall for this card, where it definitely falls flat. And as I understand it too, when this card at least came out, maybe it sounded like several of you had it here now, so I'd be curious to see, because as I understand, the drivers were pretty poor right when this card came out. And now we get the benefit of being able to use the latest driver, so you're fine. But as I understand it, when this card came out, there were definitely driver problems. They didn't have the R&D facilities that 3DFX or NVIDIA had at the time, right? They were able to crank out good, solid drivers. S3 had no such luck, and they were kind of falling behind already on this card, so... but what we can do, and I can show off some of the things, which is pretty neat, is in... let's see... If we're going to Unreal, there's a certain subsection. Not only this game is running with the metal. Hang on. If you had a question if this is metal, it is in fact metal. It is super metal. Okay, so now we determine that this is metal. We're running with the metal renderer here. As I understand it, so maybe someone knows it better than I do, but this renderer is basically an extension of OpenGL. It's based on OpenGL. And that's where metal came from, and then just being proprietary and customized to fit on the Savage 4. In case there's any question. Anyway, so it runs fine. Now, if you take a direct comparison and run this in OpenGL, I don't think you're going to see a huge difference. The benefit you get, of course, with this is that you have the S3TC textures in the levels that support it. Because here's the thing with the higher resolution textures, the compressed textures from S3. Also some visual artifacting going on there. Okay, not too bad. Yeah, so that's the thing. I think that the Metal API was not fully baked either. Right? So I think that compared to OpenGL, directly, you're probably not seeing a huge performance increase in most cases. It's probably pretty comparable in a card like here, so you don't get a lot out of the Metal API, unfortunately. And in here, even though this game supports, or you know, any game with Metal, or any game will support S3TC, if it's coded for it. So just playing here, you know, there's no texture pack here, so there's no improvement in textures, so you're just seeing what the normal OpenGL textures are. Yeah, my friend in school, my friend at school had a Voodoo 2. He got that, and then being able to watch the intro here on his Voodoo 2 card is just like, oh my god, it looks so good. We can also check the settings here. So let's take a look We are in the... Yeah, we have the metal enabled. And then rendering, S3 metal support. Look at that, all the settings are on. Detailed textures, volumetric lighting, shiny surfaces. All the fancy stuff. I don't know that we have true color on texture detail high. The rest is set actually in here. 16. So let's go to 800 by 1632 because we can. And we have a 32-bit color card. And that's not something you could do with the Voodoos, right? So now you have the upper hand here. And this is where you probably are in the sweet spot for this card, or where it can handle it, a 32-bit color with 800 by 600. But as you can see, we have a lot of flickering and like weird issues going on. And I think that comes from like, look, the fog looks better now. They just didn't have the time to perfect that stuff. And also the metal drivers in these games just weren't quite there yet. Because I mean, the install base for the S3 cards was pretty low, right, compared to Glide, which was super popular at the time, so... Oh my goodness. I didn't realize the SLIs got so far. So, what I'm running is a compact OEM S3 540. You never see me? So, yeah, it's a Diamond derivative from that. So, Diamond S3 540, 16 megabyte. That's probably the one you can call it, because it is a compact OEM one, but it's definitely the Diamond card, so... And we can actually get into the game, and I think I actually have one. Yep. Here I save myself some time. Like content creators know, you kind of want to have a couple saves in games where you might want to capture, and one of the most iconic spots, of course, is the wide open area here, which looks lovely in 32-bit color. Now, I will say, for those that are familiar with my streams here, I am unfortunately running on a different capture solution today. Normally I would run through a data path capture card, which looks very sharp. So this is a little blurry. I'm probably not going to notice, but I notice. So I just want to mention it. My computer's undergoing some changes right now, but this is more than a fine way to play this game, I would say. You know, 32-bit color. It would be a great way to revisit an older game, and I mean, this is probably running as good as you might get from the Voodoo 2s, with the difference, of course, that I don't have weapon model, so that's neat. Did I disable that? Or was it missing the weapon model? It is, you're right, because, so for those not aware too, anyone who's watching me first time, I am playing this on a CRT. This is a ViewSonic PS790, so this is how I stream, because I like playing the game on an actual monitor. You can see me streaming, there's a stream control panel up there. But for me, I want to experience the game properly. And in this case here, you're of course not seeing the right refresh rate with my webcam up here, so. But, that's the right one there. As we saw earlier, it is very metal. But the visual in this game just blew me away. This was just something completely unreal, but I can also tell a 32-bit color is definitely making this be a little slog, kind of a slog there. And I also find it a little fascinating that our weapon model is gone. And I'm not sure that's something I disabled as part of when I was capturing this game. Let's see, I might have. Let's see, crosser weapon hand. Yep, there it is. Right. There we go. That's better. That's kind of what you're used to. I think I had disabled it when I was capturing it. But I mean, it plays fine. Runs great. But also this game is then, you know, marginally older than the Savage 4, because Savage 4 was like 1999, and this is a 1997 game? 98? Help me out there now. Which year did Unreal come out? I forgot. It's definitely not running smooth, I wouldn't say, but consistent enough that I would happily have played a game like this. But I probably would have stuck with 16-bit color because I just didn't know better. 98, okay. So yeah, this is definitely like best case scenario for the Savage 4, this version of the card. Oh my god! I guess we have the HUD off for maximum. Is there a pink, purple blood from that guy? I don't remember that. The soundtrack is so good. Listen to that mod music. So, for those not familiar, this game then uses mod tracker music. So does Unreal Tournament, and that's kind of like the staple of the Amiga, right? So that has that kind of twangy Amiga sound to it. That's a normal puddle. There's something with mod music is fantastic. So unfortunately, we don't get the benefit of the nice textures here then. Hello. That's pretty brutal, isn't it? It's not a nice enemy, the first one you run into. So let's switch to 16-bit again and take a look. Again, we're running at the metal now, right? So... that's definitely smoother. And I probably would have opted for 16-bit here. I wouldn't have seen a huge reason to be 32-bit, even though it looks nicer. As you're playing it, I think the preferable path would have been to run with that. And also something that you do get from other cards, I will also say I'm a big fan of Glide and the Voodoo cards. I do feel that in a lot of the early Glide titles, it's kind of washed out. Not saying this is super vibrant here now, but I feel, maybe just my personal opinion, but I always feel that the Glide in the early days was pretty washed out color-wise. But in this case here, this is a nice, full, holistic Unreal experience, and the Savage 4 could deliver that. But also, other cards from this era, of course, could do it just fine, too. Every competitor to this card could do this just fine. Alright, thanks for dropping by, Turkey, I appreciate it. Hopefully you catch me again live next week, otherwise, but... you're always welcome to rewatch it, too. I always encourage people to come and go as they need to, of course, so... no one should feel they have to show up. But we're not going to play Unreal that long. But in this case here, the benefit we get here is that we have the metal renderer, of course. But let's try and switch it to the OpenGL renderer and see if we have any discernible difference here in how it plays. Okay, that's right. So you do have metal, and that is only on the, I think it was the gold version of Unreal. Look how it turns into software rendering mode in the background now when I'm messing with it. Look at the gun, you see the pixelation there. So let's go to OpenGL instead. Which question is then like, is there any discernible benefit? It's darker. Look at that, isn't it? It feels more like color vibrant. Like generally darker palette than the metal had. Huh. We're still getting some flickering stuff though, so question is if it was not better. Yeah, sure. Maybe just a gamma setting. Maybe I had the gamma set much higher. No, it's max. That makes no difference here. You're right, it probably is separate, but it doesn't look like the gamma setting has any difference. So it might be pretty comparable then. I'm guessing that the driver, or the lack of driver, is overriding the gamma setting in the game. That sounds about right. It might be that's why I always thought it felt like it was washed out. And as far as the internet goes, there was a question earlier about that. So far, so good, although I think there's some problem with the AV1 encoding thing going on, so... otherwise, the internet has been fine so far. It's so dark I can barely see now. There's a problem. We're not going to play Unreal too long, because, I mean, it's Unreal, and we played this part a lot of times. This was something else when it came out. It was such a neat game. I'm up here. I realize I have the HUD off, but again, a perfectly fine way to play this game. But you do not get the benefit of the S3 textures here. But let's switch back to metal, because it's hang on, it's Do this. Go to drivers. Go to S3 metal. Because, I mean, it's neat to use it when you can, right? Now this is dark, too. Whoa, we're getting some flickering going on there, too. Brightness actually has an effect now. Look at that. What is that top left corner there? Look at that. Is that coming up on stream? Yeah, look at that. It's like something to do with the aliasing. Or like the edge rendering. Look at that. Got a nice little flicker there. So there's some problems with it that it's still, you know, it never got taken care of. So what we can do is we can select a bot match and actually go into specific... Good evening, welcome. We can actually go into specific scenarios. Let's see, we're going to disable all the bots here now. See if it loads. Some of these levels just don't load that well. So yeah, this is using S3 textures, plus then metal, of course, but you can't really do much here, but this was to show, like, if you use the compressed textures, you can really, I guess there's a little GIF here, you can really get high quality textures. That's something this, I mean, compared to textures we saw a second ago, although the level of detail on the far here is pretty low pretty quickly, but if you get up close, we'll hop around through a few of these different levels. There are quite a few, actually, that they have as a demo, and this was, I think, from S3 to just show off what they could do, although there weren't many updates for it, so... we'll go to one of the other ones, because there's a little more interesting levels here. We'll go to the gallery here, for example. Yeah, this game is quite nice with that, you're right, because you can really switch around, and if you look at this here, this is really sharp. I don't think there was any other... I mean, this is, of course, just like a picture, but it's just, it's so sharp. Like, nothing else came close to this level. I mean, it looks great when you do it that way. Of course, again, it gets, look at how blurry it is on a distance here. You get closer now, it gets sharper and sharper, and then, bam, full resolution. So it's definitely pretty aggressive level of detail, but that's just what you had to do with, you know, 800 by 600. So, but all this looks super sharp. And in 1999, there was nothing else that could touch this. But it has to have these textures too. You can't just increase the resolution of what's already there, right? You have to basically have it programmed into the level, which of course this does have. And let's see, we'll go to another one here. We have Gallery B. I don't even know what all this stuff is, but the second gallery, look at this, another gallery here. So man, it looks just fantastic. I mean, look at the text there, too. I don't have a computer. I should have had another machine set up with the same setup that I could, like, switch to look at it. But in the video, I compared it with the Voodoo 3. The same machine had the Voodoo 3 and the... I also put the TNT2 Ultra in there. And the blurriness of the textures, so just, especially with the S3TC when it was enabled, it was no contest. Like, the Savage 4 produced way better picture. But again, it had to support it explicitly. It's not something you can just enable and you know, hope for the best. So let's take a look at another level. There are a couple of interesting more... Yeah, here we go. The street one is a little more interesting because it's an actual street level. You can walk around. And you can actually have a bot match in here if you wanted to. This is... Oh, never mind. That one I cannot. That one did not play nice. So there's another one you can run that's a similar one. Just that particular one apparently was not going to play nice, so it just crashed. Savage Streets. That's the one we need. Hang on. We have entered the metal zone. The dark zone. That you weren't expecting to come to Unreal Rave. Searchlight, look at that. And this is really impressive. Yeah, very Kingpin, right? Because, I mean, they're just cramming in these textures here all over the place. And, at least to my knowledge, this does not really impact performance much, if anything at all. So that's the benefit of using this stuff, is when it does work. Look at that. Savage 3D. Now, this is supported on the Savage 3D, which is the card that came before this, right? So, which the Savage 3D card is kind of like... The Savage 4 is, I think, across the board a better card, because Savage 3D was missing a lot of features. And the Savage 4 is probably the best we got working from S3, since the S2000 was just broken. We definitely see some glitches in the corners and stuff. I mean, there's definitely some problems with the Metal API, but... Probably, yeah. But then if you were to just, you know, run around like this, you wouldn't really think about it, right? So then the question is, like, it was cool, but it wasn't, like, required. So in some games where it could really benefit, it never made it to it. Although Unreal Tournament is probably the one that's the most, like, fleshed out, because it has metal support and also a lot of levels with S3TC. You can install that on the extra disc, actually, from the Unreal Tournament Game of the Year edition. Specifically from there. So not by default, but... But again, there's no, like, real... Look at that stuff. Cool. Oh, I wonder where the ceiling is here. I shoot the moon? No. So we have the bots, and I think that's it. I think that's literally it for those Savage levels. And that's all you get here, at least. For sure. Yeah. So yeah, that's all you get in Unreal to show, again, they have a lot of these tech demos to show what's possible, but then it never materialized in anything more, so... but even more games supported S3 and both the Metal and the S3TC. But we can also play a different game that is completely not anything relating to that. For example, we can try one of the games I really enjoy. I have the CD for it here. I thought I had the CD for it. Where'd I go? Nice. Motorhead is a direct 3D game. I should put in the CD for this one. Now, this game runs pretty easy on just about anything, but it also shows that direct 3D, runs just great on it. I do have Need for Speed 3 here as well. Gotta remember which one I got. Porsche Unleashed. I got a few other ones as well. Kind of like a little bit of a mixture of different games. Some supporting Metal and some supporting OpenGL and some Direct 3D. So in this case here, we're using Direct 3D. It's you can basically have Software Glide or Direct 3D in this one, I think. There's no OpenGL, if I remember right. I look at the settings. Now, this does have CD audio, but I think I forgot to hook up the... Yeah, when I installed this card... Oops, sorry about the video there. The capture way I've set up right now is a little wonky because of the problems with my computer. So yeah, you have primer display driver, 3D effects, or software. That's it. So... But I guess we can set it to true color. So let's do that. As we can. So we have CD audio running right now, but of course it's not working, so it doesn't matter. Sound options. Yeah. So I should have plugged that back in. I was messing with the machine so much. We'll just go into a quick race here and see. But this game actually runs really well on the Savage 4. But it's not a hard game to run either. I'm going to set it as it crashes now. We'll see here what the video is doing. That's alright. This this game, has a near unrivaled sense of speed. It's crazy from an arcade perspective how good this game is from a speed perspective. trying to raise the volume while I was trying to drive. That worked out just about as well as you expect. Yeah, this is the way I'm set up for the streaming here now. I might be able to do it, but I have to, like, the computer's kind of wedged in. But this game runs beautiful on this machine, and well, this is a game that's, again, not difficult to run. It's got a very, like, low polygon feel to it, at least in my opinion. And it always prioritizes speed, obviously. This is even on the PS1, I'm pretty sure, so... In fact, I might have tried it on the Mr. stream, I think. At least now I'm not getting a copyright mark for playing the music on here, so... But it's all got a really good techno soundtrack. Just listen to it on my mini-disc player. I ripped it on there. I guess I just did one level there. I wonder if I can get the audio plugged in. That wouldn't be too hard. Stand by. I'm gonna dig under the desk for a second. You guys can look at this here and see all the developers in their glory here now. Once I fix that again. Let's see. Sorry. Oh, that was the wrong one. Stand by. Popping up here just to check. I don't think so. CD is still running, so... Success. Whew, there we go. Live surgery on the air. So yeah, I actually unplugged. I found the CD audio cable was just hanging there, but the problem is the Soundmaster Live's got 3 ins. I wasn't sure which one was the CD one, so I had to find it. Of course, it was the last one I checked. And it's got really good music. So let's try one that's a little longer here. There we go. Yeah, CD audio is definitely part of the experience. Stir up. There we go. Now we got the full techno experience. This game actually has a really good soundtrack like this. And it's the original CD, so... It's arcade racer, don't worry about it. Going back to the Savage 4 here now, like, again, this is a fine experience. I mean, you would have had a really good time with this game, I think. Sounds great. Certainly feels 60 plus. I mean, very smooth, at least on the CRT. Whoa. I used to listen to the soundtrack on my min disc player. I ripped it on there, and then I was riding on a bus over school and stuff. I would listen to it. Boy, I'm aging myself now. Yeah, go listen to the whole soundtrack. There's a lot of, you know, the tracks are pretty similar, but then you get some real good bangers. That's not gonna work. Whoa! That is to show, again, the Direct 3D games actually run really well on this card. You know, kind of straight up Direct 3D games are no real problem at all. I'm pretty sure this is Direct 3D. Someone could correct me otherwise, but since you can only select a primer display driver, that's got to be Direct 3D and Direct X, and not OpenGL, I would think, but... The sliding is a little interesting. The lack thereof. It's like, you can do a slide, but you actually lose speed doing it. So, sliding is not preferable. Whoop! The AI is absolutely brutal in this game. It's a racing game where the AI is just rubber banding and like speeding up way faster than it technically should be able to and all that stuff. Like there, they just maintained the speed there. That finishes the race at least. Also a dramatic pause in the music when it switches, or when it resets the track, but we haven't gotten there yet. This is a Motorhead by someone you might know, DICE. Pretty sure this is DICE, so Digital Illusions, or DICE now that is the publishing juggernaut behind the Battlefield. Oh, that went well. There we go. That's it. KO. Can I give any more power, Captain? Ride the rail. With the guy last year that did that in NASCAR and I got penalized for it because apparently riding the, he said, I think he said, like, I used to do that in video games all the time, so I want to try in real life, and it worked. But, of course, that was deemed too dangerous and crazy, so... Welcome to Rick's Random Raid. Yeah! Third place, alright. Third place! I'll try and catch up on chatter now, but... Yeah, they're definitely all the developers here, I'm sure. Even the menu music is really cool. I've fond memories of this game because it's very period, like, locked in that time. It's just an arcade racing game. It just oozes like that kind of voodoo, glide, you know, arcade racer that you see in a cabinet, you know? Actually, there's one, I think there's one soundtrack here. Oh, you can select different tracks here. Or we can just play this in the CD, so... We'll just play it on the, I'm gonna do this. It's, again, since I switched to capture solution tonight because of my computer state, that thing is just not liking switching, so that is not normal there, but we can run Winamp and do this. It's not like, there's one song on there that, or one track that I'm like... I can't remember how to, guess we can just do media player. Entertainment. CD player, there we go. Not the first one. Not sure what's gonna... Oh, I think it froze again. It doesn't like me messing with the audio settings on this machine. It may not like me doing both at the same time here. So, that was good. Crashed. Yeah, that's the thing. There's just a lot of them that had the full soundtrack on there. Well, the CD player, like, it literally crashed. I'm not sure what's going on with the audio drivers on this machine. Try that again here, but... that might fix it. Yeah, still reading it, so... I'm the one driving that car, eco-friendly, but yeah. No, start menu still hasn't responded. Something's going on with the video, or the audio drivers, I think, with this one. Maybe the Soundmaster Live is having trouble or something, but it's been fine ever since I started messing with the MIDI settings, and then, of course, now, Winamp is not responding. We have to reboot. So now Explorer isn't responding. Yeah, I always did that. You inject a CD and force your way around. It could be also the hard drives going on, or who knows. But it's only when I'm messing with sound stuff here that's been a problem. But that was just a tangent, I guess, to just show that it does work. So anyway, look up the soundtrack. There we go. It's become unstable. I think we have a memory leak now. I know it's more fun, but it's like sooner or later you have to shift to a higher gear and, like, you know, drive it regular. I remember back in the day when turbo diesel started coming out, my dad was friends with a car dealer in my hometown, and they were starting to sell, like, you know, turbo diesels had 6 speeds. It's funny, we don't have much of this anymore, do we? Fine, we'll just hard reboot it here. And they were getting, you know, a lot of the turbo diesels came with 6 speeds because they had so much torque. They wanted to use the entire power band, right? And my dad's friend then, who was a car dealer, was in a deep argument with a potential purchaser who really didn't want 6 speeds because he didn't need them. He said, I barely get into 4th gear by the time I get to the store from home. And he's like, it comes with 6 speeds. I can't take one out. But he was really upset. But I only need 4 speeds. Like, it comes with 6 speeds. Like, the guy was really upset about the prospect of having to shift 6 gears, even though he never would use them anyway. So it was just, I work in IT, so that user experience hits close to home now. But yeah, it's funny how today you can just play a game in most cases, unless you have something seriously wrong with your computer. It just works. So, Union Bandana, welcome. Well, yeah, it's for a Civic Si, but even a full throttle on the VTEC, on the SCI, you're still probably burning less gas than in most turbo cars. You're having more fun doing it, but yeah. Okay, so now, all right, we're back to where we're supposed to be. So let's run another game with some metal for us. So, for example, Adventure Pinball is a pinball game, as you probably guessed. But it supports Metal API for some reason. Yeah, I mean, I remember a friend was borrowing or test driving the BRZ, which is a really cool car. In fact, Toyota and Subaru made it. The older generation with not the newer, bigger engine. And, I mean, it was so much fun. He took it here, brought it here so I could test drive it too quick. And it was just so much fun to drive. I never felt a car that was so alive and, like, connected. But then flooring it. Like, yeah, just flying through the gears and everything. And we're like going 35. I'm like, what? There's a lot of noise and not much movement. It's just funny how that was not the purpose of that car. It was meant to be a track car or like a, you know, a momentum machine, but it, from pure performance perspective, it just needed more oomph, so. Boy, this computer is very stable here for this playing tonight. It was actually been fine. I did a lot of testing, and apparently now everything's just crashing over and over. So, neat. Great. This is a great way. We'll see if we may get through the stream before this machine starts collapsing, I guess. But yeah, this machine has been perfectly fine for years now, but apparently too much switching around has caused a problem. Or something is conflicting now, because now we're getting just instability. Yep, hard lock again. Yeah, who else misses the true retro experience? That defeats the purpose of showing off the Savage 4 here, which otherwise is a fine card when the computer is not crashing, I guess. So that's pretty funny. We'll do a different game, but Adventure Pinball is just a pinball game that supports Savage for Metal API natively. So we'll do another one then. But yeah, but the thing is that, like, keeping in a low gear, as far as Bruce, your point there, I always do. I'd like to live dangerously. I don't want to sit in a way. This is a spinning disc. It would take forever to go through that. In modern, like, at least with cars with turbos, like, you have so much torque down low usually that there's not much need to sit in a lower gear to get more performance, right? So, and drive WX, and it's got plenty of low end grunt in a higher gear. So I mean, I got to 5th or 6th immediately, basically. Yeah, you're not wrong, Doppler. The stability once you got to NT base operating system from Microsoft got so much more stable. Yes, saying if you have a high performance turbo that revs super high, then yeah, so be it. But I would say most modern twin scroll turbos have so much torque down low, or at least they're tuned that way usually for more drivability, more than top end performance. Of course, conversely, you don't have as much top end, but they're much more drivable. Having that torque surge available all the time is pretty nice too. Actually, let's do something real quick, because hopefully this works now, I guess. This is a custom version of Quake 3. One specific level, and there's no bots or anything. I just want to show it off, because this is actually using both metal, or this may not be metal. This is S3TC. Sorry, no metal here. This is not metal. But it is full SC3. What is the control scheme here? This is weird. Runs quite well. And I think one of the things that they were touting with these Savage cards is that they was these arena shooters like Quake 3 and Unreal Tournament. You basically got these sharper textures for free, and this will look better and sharper than pretty much any of the other forgetting words, any other video cards you would have seen at the time. It makes it look really good. Ooh, bam. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Once you gear, like, you have a smaller turbo engine that's geared for economy, it's not really going to be the same. I know that Revenant's not here now, but he still has the Master Speed 3, and that's what I used to have as well. And that was, it was so torquey and so powerful in, like, 1500 RPM range. So it, like, it was nothing, woo, and then nothing. And it would, like, on a rolling start from a third gear, it would just annihilate almost anything else remotely in the same power range. But then it lost all the grunt up top. So there was no reason to rev it to redline. It shifted like 5k pretty much every time, and you kept riding that boost level. And it was a lot of fun when it kicked in. So no VTEC, yo, but fantastic anyway. So anytime you get those big turbos, yeah. You're not wrong, Bandana. So there is that part. Like, I do... I'm a big fan of the voodoo cards. I think a lot of us are. But there's something to be said for the image quality on a lot of the voodoo cards. Until the Voodoo 5, when you can do the full screen anti-aliasing and get some really nice results. At least here, the Voodoo cards for this generation were not always the prettiest looking. We certainly have 16-bit there. Take a look here on graphic options. Boom, 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 boom. 16-bit. Ah, we have 32-bit card. Yeah, so it's just OpenGL right now. Linear max. See if we can handle it. Can you handle it? We got max settings here now. But again, it tried to show, like, you know, when you're running with... Oh, my... okay, it's up. Oh, wow. Yeah, we got some graphical artifact in there. That did not play nice here. I wonder if it's a 32-bit color or the max texture quality. Feels like it's the max texture quality more than anything. Let's see. Let's look out into space before we do this, because it's running so slow. So there's a limit on what you can do, of course. Graphic options. Let's go down to here, and we'll see if it was the 32-bit or it was the trilinear filtering. It's got to be 32-bit color, and I think that's more like... It probably has enough horsepower to do, but... I had to restart the stream there, sorry. Did the same thing again. It's got to be a bug somewhere within the stuff. Yep, it's not trilinear, it's 32-bit color. It does not like that at all, so yeah. Again, I think it has enough grunt for it, but I think it's just... It's got to be something with the... Or it could just be that just doesn't have enough juice for it, so... It could. Yeah, it's back now. It wasn't the internet. The weird thing is, again, it's just the... There we go. I wouldn't think VRAM should be an issue for 32-bit versus 16-bit, right? But maybe I'm wrong there. So what's happening is that at random times, yeah, the encoder, something's happening there, and I made a switch off from switching back to using H.2464 instead, or the NVIDIA encoder, NVENC, if it keeps happening, because that's kind of annoying. Ooh. Whee! Railgun. Mega health. Oh, the railgun. Fantastic piece of gear, but again, you're kind of used to this kind of texture detail right now, but this is not what you saw on a Voodoo card. This is not what you saw on a TNT card. It was just impossible. They set up support for it, and here you do get that, so... but I assume it's got to be something with the way I'm running with the AV1 encoder, and I want to change it during the stream right now. But it's just completely random. And I can see, like, the encoding on performance in the metrics in Windows Performance Task Manager. It just kind of, whoop, drops to nothing and comes back up again. So, yeah. And there you go. High quality textures. Looks great. Fantastic, although we get some serious diddling there. And you see, like, what it was capable of, right? And it's again sad to see that it never really got any further than that, so... But there's so much you can do in Jam. There's so much you can do with Quake 3 otherwise. Because the Quake 3, these levels were actually bundled with, I think, were Savage 2000 specifically. And this is a custom patch version that allows you to run it, because if you just run... I think if we go in here, the one that you install that would normally have come with it, S3 Quake 3, it will actually fail because it says it can't find a, yeah. This version of Quake 3 may only be run on a Savage 2000 card. So this is unique to that, but then someone patched it and made a change to it that you are actually able to run it on the Savage 4 instead. So that gives you a little bit extra oomph there. So, oh, nice. Very nice. Is it another extreme or this DVI version? That I know that Nathan had one of these too. Mine just does not work. I've tried this on like 4 or 5 different computers, and every time I try and initialize it, it just fails. Like the computer will not boot, and it will do a VGA beep code. It doesn't matter if I have. Okay, maybe I'll try with the DVI because I've tried like 5 or 6 different dongles, DVI to VGA. Anything I try in multiple machines, basically it just beep error codes every time, including this very machine. So you mean the latch here is broken? Oh, okay, because I don't know what components are populated. Maybe I'll ask you, Jam, for a close-up photo of see if there's any components that have loosened up. Because looking at it, there's several spots that are non-populated, but I don't know if they just were never populated or something fell off. So it's hard to say. So yeah, it would be fun to use this card. I might have to pick up another Extreme too, because I would like to see the maximum performance of the metal. So yeah. Yeah, at least on the front. That would be great if you can just throw that to me or something that I can look at, see if there's any components missing. Not that I'm able to fix the card, because it could be just the GPU itself that's busted. But if there's one piece missing or one like component or something, then maybe. Because there's a lot of unpopulated pads on here. A lot of them. But I'm guessing that's by design. But if it's one of these tiny... I'm getting better at soldering. If it's one of these super tiny ones, then yeah. That's going to be hard. Anyway. Let's play a different game that I know does work with everything, which is Unreal Tournament as S3TC and metal.
Legendary. To prove you are the best.
Let's see if it's back
to crush
now.
your enemies.
Interesting.
To win the tournament.
I think I'm back. Maybe. So interesting enough there, I was trying to restart the stream and it actually would not connect. I had to switch to the secondary YouTube ingestion server for it to pick up. It would not connect to the primary. So
in 2291,
that's
in
weird.
an attempt
I haven't
to
seen
control
that before.
violence among deep space miners, the new Earth government legalized
Calculon's
no
back.
host.
So then inside of here we are running with metal, as we can see here. At 800 by 600, 16-bit, and medium in general across the board. And in most levels, there are some S3T6. Yeah, that's what I'm not sure. That was weird. I haven't seen that before because my bandwidth was fine. But for some reason, I could not connect to the primary YouTube server. I had to switch to secondary one in OBS. So I'm not sure if there was like a glitch or... Boy, I'm not having good luck with all this stuff, am I? It would be nice to have just a smooth stream 2 streams ago. When I return to all my circuits... Alright, let me get this straight. Does anyone here not have explosive amnesia? I guess Futurama's going to be back here very soon. So let's see. Let me think of a level that has the textures. Pretty sure this one does. Yeah, these are... Like, these wall textures here are way higher quality than you would get in something else if S3TC was not enabled. And you can... In this case here, like, it runs great, right? There seems to be no performance negative result from running with S3TC, at least I can tell or notice. But a lot of textures in this level here, I don't think... For example, here you can see... This is clearly not an S3TC texture. You can really see the difference here. And look at the blurriness compared to the wall. Alright, Bruce, thanks for stopping by. And have a good one. Get some rest. But, I mean, look at the comparison here on a non-enhanced texture and the texture on the wall. And this floor texture as well here is also... improved, or S3TC. compared to like this here, which is the blurry granite mess. But that's where you see the drawback here, right? You can see this is not, and these are S3TC textures. The difference is fantastic, but then the games had to support it, and then what like point from the developers is to support it when it was a pretty small install base. If the install base is pretty small, right, for S3 cards, or at least, you know, relatively compared to Voodoos and TNTs. So the desire for the developers to support it is like, you know, yeah, Halo looked really good too for its time. And look at how blurry that is. Like, even the difference here is pretty dramatic. And I mean, this is a fast-paced arena shooter. It doesn't really matter. But in this case here, it was, you know, free performance-wise. So, it was free performance-wise. I think right here is where I shot the, here, yeah. This is where I shot the part in the video that I was comparing it to, because I was kind of panning like this in the video to show off exactly. And of course we have the lava there, which is looking tantalizing. But the, like, these floor textures are really good. Crawling around looking at textures. Yeah, the N64 is something else too, so yeah. But it's like there was nothing else that was similar to this at the time. But, I mean, if you go to a level then that doesn't have this, it's kind of moot. So we go to a different one. Let's see. This is a classic one. I don't think there's anything on this level that has the S3TC, because like here, blurry, 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 and this looks exactly the same you see it on any other card, right? So then you don't get any benefit here, right? Not anything negative, but it looks exactly the same like any other card, because there's none of those enhanced textures on here. And this is with the included official texture pack directly from Epic, so classic music. I guess I got a grenade launcher. I turned all that off. Use 16-bit there. You can really see the dithering. Of course, we do have the option to go to 32-bit, so let's do that, because we can. So yeah, you see the potential, right? And it makes you a little sad in the sense that we didn't see that until later, of course, but we do have 32-bit color now with no real massive performance degradation, so there you go. Although we saw some pretty nice, like, dithering on the smoke there. I think that's more of a metal drawback, right? But yeah, it's so blurry now. We can change, I think we were set to world detail. Yeah, here we go. We can set it to high, too. Yep, it will degrade performance, we know that. I don't care, give me maximum. So this looks better, but still doesn't touch the S3TC. Yeah, it's quite good for 32-bit, so that's the thing, the Savage 4 doesn't, like, it gets overshadowed a lot, of course, with just raw performance, but it can enable a lot of its feature sets without a huge performance degradation, so, and I mean, it looks fine. I think this card was often, like, you know, people would use this card specifically for Quake 3 or Unreal Tournament in to great effect, because it does look really nice. But, again, it doesn't hold a candle to the S3TC texture. Yep, now my bandwidth is flaking out again. I just can't win with this. Let's see if we're coming back now. Boy, just can't win with this. Sorry about that. Everyone wants to drop, you're welcome to, if I just keep messing with this. I don't want people to just sit here and have to constantly, like, watch stream dropping or not, so. But yeah, that internet speed's dropped again there, so that's neat. Fantastic. It's fun to troubleshoot problems, isn't it? Inconsistent problems, even better. And YouTube's kicking me off for not playing with 3D effects cards. Well, for those that are still hanging around, I do appreciate watching while I'm messing with this and struggling with getting a consistent streaming experience, because that's annoying as all hell. Yeah. Hopefully it's back now. Yeah, the bandwidth up speed is definitely not having a good time right now again. So too much coffee. So yeah, and at least in this case here, there's no benefits. I don't know what other levels might have other textures, because I haven't seen that many. Let's check out this reactor one, like see if there's any metal. Because this all looks like standard textures to me. I don't think I see any, like, metal. Yeah, I switched back and forth. Right now, we are on AV1. I did switch back to HVNC or NVIDIA encoder. And that made no huge difference at all as far as that goes. So, tried flipping it on the fly here in case it was AV1. But then my bandwidth started tanking again. My upload speed is now dropping, as it usually does when I stream and have problems. So, I am directly plugged into the modem/router, which is a combined device. The only thing that's different is that I do have a switch in between. That the only other thing that's plugged in is a RetroNAS device, which I'm going to go and unplug now too. But I don't even know that it's on, honestly. So there is definitely some metal going on. But, like, again, excuse me, I don't see any, like, improved texture here at all. So I'm trying to find another level that has that same texture improvements. Gothic? I would think so, yeah. Let's see, any improved textures around here? This looks good, yeah. This has got to be the... Yeah. Got some S3TC textures here, so I'm pretty sure. And this looks quite sharp. This does not. This looks quite sharp, so here, it looks quite nice. This is a nice visual presentation, if you will, with everything that has to offer there. That looks really good. That's cool music, too. In this case here, you know, you can get all this as a freebie, if you will. There's no, like, negative effect by running this. So in this case, you would have a quote-unquote superior experience. But, again, arena shooter, it doesn't really matter. You probably have to speed more. And here, yeah, this is not S3TC. So such a mismatch of different ones. Like, this is clearly higher resolution. But it also makes a pretty inconsistent experience. Although, overall, this level's got a very pleasing look, so... But yeah, this is equivalent to high resolution texture packs that you will see today, right? So, doing a little speed test here to see if there's any difference from my internet. It's fine now. Okay. Anyway. The only ones that I know, there aren't really... Most of them are action games based on Unreal of some variety. So yeah, I do have that pinball game, which they failed to launch earlier. We can try it again, but the list is unfortunately quite small. But there really isn't anything else, to my knowledge, that uses S3TC. I linked the... I see Blasinski right there. Ooh, a galleon. That's a cool one. But I don't think there's anything that custom uses the enhanced textures or anything else, really, so... The levels in Unreal Tournament were so creative. I used to love playing this, doing the assault levels and stuff with friends. It was so much fun. Yeah, Metal, even Metal aside, like, there just aren't that many, especially with S3TC, there aren't that many games that support it or have the texture packs for it. And I mean, again, what motivation did they have to do that, right? I don't think anything in this level here. Oof, ow. Unreal Tournament is so much fun, even today. Any multiplayer Unreal Tournament is just a blast still. Do they really do a earth curvature here? I see the seam over there. Oh, where the boat is moving. There's a line there where the textures are seamed together. Far out. Can I jump in the water? Lame. I can't swim. Inside death. Whee!
Congratulations, you are the winner.
Congratulations, you are the winner. I won. Because I was the only player. Yeah! Good showing. Now that was metal. Yeah, of course I have no bots here now, so... Yeah, we should do that. Unfortunately, I think that... I know there's ways around it probably, but... I know that they have removed a lot of the Unreal Tournament games and Unreal games from on the storefronts for some reason, and the online servers are gone, which is kind of like a bummer. I know there are ways around it, but yeah, we should definitely do a Discord multiplayer night of some variety. And I may enlist a few people for testing for that. So, but yeah, that's Unreal Tournament in Imboka. Yeah, that's probably what I want to do. The biggest thing is I just don't want to necessarily open up firewall ports directly to retro computers, right? So that's the kicker, is figuring all that out, which you can do port forwarding. But having a Windows 98 machine on the LAN directly open internet is just, yeah. In theory, you could have a dedicated server like running and then open up to that maybe of some variety. So it's a more of a reduced footprint machine, segmented out that way, and then people can connect to it. But then you're relying on your home bandwidth, of course, to do that. So there's some options I want to look at. Otherwise, are the VPN solutions that might be a good option, although they would rely on some sort of server infrastructure. So nice. Diamond Viper 2. I don't remember that particular card, but yeah. Let's see, what other games do we have that use metal? That's right, I did install this. Excuse me, I never played. Apparently, there was a kid-friendly version of Unreal Tournament called Nerf Arena Blast, which also supports metal by default. So, very similar to Unreal Tournament. But it is a arena shooter with Nerf darts. It's nice, it's kid-friendly. No scatter guns here, or flak guns, and bio guns, and... What's the controls here? Yeah, this is running in metal. Let me double check the settings, but I'm pretty sure. Neat idea. Boy, they're just like freaking knocked out. You can almost smell this here just by playing it. Mega power. Looks like a fun place to be in real life. Very 90s here, but you. Gotcha. Nerf cannon. That was a great idea. That was a neat game concept. Which, again, looks really great. Let's take a look at the settings. Yeah, we're running at... hang on. Metal confirmed. 64x480, of course. We're running at the higher texture quality. But you were probably going to get a... Yeah, see, this is, of course, exactly the same settings as you would see in Unreal Tournament or in Unreal, and that's what it runs on. So S3 metal support is enabled. Detail textures. Can I do true on that? But I think they probably don't have that installed, so... Textures do look quite sharp, but no, not here. It's a cool lighting. It's a neat concept. The Ballzooka. Is there no one left alive? They're all dead? Thanks, Sharon. Knocked her out. I like the gun stick there. This is pretty cool. That's a nice commitment to, yeah, they're definitely not the high quality textures, because they will have to be installed separately. You can take a look at the driver disk, or the game disk, and see if there's any more, Discus launcher? This will be fun in multiplayer, too. It's got neat ideas here. Maybe not as cool as, Unreal Tournament, but, I mean, it's basically Unreal Tournament, so... The Hyper... Oh my goodness. It's a freaking railgun. What do you have a railgun for? A Nerf battle. Knocked him out. Brutal, though. It feels like, you know, the Nerf trapping is cool. The jumps here, don't think I would let, like, kids do this, but... I'm terrible at aiming. But, still, a neat game, and of course runs great on Glide here. I haven't seen any visual, and of course now it crashes there, but I haven't seen any visual artifacts or weird stuff. Oh, I hit myself in the head with a ball. See what happens. Oh, yeah! Whoa! What the heck was that? Is that a rocket launcher? Sure is! You splash damage from a Nerf dart. That's Sharon. That was a neat idea for a game. So this is like just a freaking... Wow, did I just die there? Your energy is gone. That's a neat idea. It totally looked like a douche, too. It's not like a Ted. So let's see. What other... Wow, we can really crank it here if we wanted to, but I don't think we're going to do that. Blasters. So yeah, let's take a look on the CD. I doubt that there is, but I have this mounted. It's actually an ISO, so I kind of doubt that it's included here. Our random system setup textures. The only one I'm aware of is the I want to set up again, but I did not see any options for that. Yeah. This is where you would see that as an extra option for higher quality text for S3. That's what I saw under Unreal Tournament when you used the gold, and that was the secondary disc. So no such luck there, but it's kind of a neat concept or neat idea on that game to do that, to have the nerf trappings around Unreal Tournament. So yeah, as far as like setting up the network or whatever, there are options to do that on your own, but it feels like some sort of like software VPN. But then of course you have to figure out if the connection sharing and all that stuff too, right? You would have to have something that would run on Windows 98, which is kind of a tall order. I don't aren't going to find much stuff like that that does that. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that would look, but there's got to be a way to do it too. I know that there are also ways to run, of course, a lot of these older games on modern systems that would kind of take care of that problem too, which is the easiest one, right? But it'd be neat to do actual retro computers to connect them somehow, either through network connection sharing, whatever it might be, or, you know, your port forwarding just to have it one machine open, I guess. Because, yeah, again, I mean, yeah, there's ways to do it, even deleting, but it is, you know, it is a bit of a thing of putting a machine directly on there, so. All right, we're taking a look at those. And let's see, what other games do we have on here that we haven't tried yet as far as Metal? Because that covers a lot of the Metal stuff, honestly. There is one more, again, Unreal-based, and that is Star Trek Deep Space Nine: The Fallen, which we streamed before. But I can also show that it is also quite good at DOS stuff. It plays DOS games just dandy, with good quality and everything. So, and this is running at the DOS resolution and everything. Of course, it's very quiet. No extra MIDI sound effects here, but DOS-based games look really good on the Savage 4 as well, which actually makes it quite a compelling choice for a Super Socket 7 machine or something that would have a DOS focus, but has an HDP slot. Like a Pentium 2 that you might build as a DOS machine / early Windows 98 gaming. I think the Savage 4 then is a compelling option, especially since it's a lot cheaper than, say, like a S3 and a Voodoo combo or something like that. The live is not fantastic for a DOS sounds, to say the least. I don't think the Soundmaster Live cards are phenomenal Windows cards, I think. They are very compatible and work with a lot of stuff and sound good. But their DOS MIDI sound may leave something to be desired, so. But that's not the primary purpose of it. If you have a real DOS machine, you most likely would like to want to use a machine that has access to an ISO slot, so. We should probably just stream Doom 2 at some point, huh? Yeah, I don't know. It feels like everything else has a retro resurgence, right? So I have a feeling the Savage cards will pick up in price eventually. Especially the extreme ones, or the ones that are any more desirable, because as people kind of get bored with the main ones that are always going to be expensive, like your Voodoos and your rarer cards, it feels like the Savage cards are inevitable too. Anything that's rare just seems like it's expensive anymore. Which is unfortunate. It's just the way it is, I guess. That's true. There's a lot of people. I'm not just very good at Doom, so playing this on autopilot because I played this level so many times. But of course, we did play a Doom RTX, and that was really fun. Is anyone aware if Doom 2 works with RTX? Because that would be fun to play too. As it did make a huge difference with if you can use the WAD for Doom 2 with the PT boom or whatever. Because that really, really enhanced Doom 1. What a difference that make. Oh yeah, I'm sure. All I'm trying to show is just that, you know... Yes, there's a nice image quality in Whoops! I wonder what happened. That's weird. Oh, it's a final hidden secret or something. Oh, I cheated so much playing Doom 2 back in the day once I found out the cheat codes. I think I read them in a magazine or something, and after that it was all downhill from there. I just cheated so much in this game. Including the Wolfenstein 3D level, of course. I learned about this pretty quick. Hi, Laban. Got one job alone, killing Nazis. It depends on the application. RT can look fantastic in a right situation. There's some sections in like Cyberpunk 2077, like Underground or like neon lit stuff that just looks fantastic. But the other games, they just, you know, the regular quote-unquote lighting engine looks really good. But where used correctly, it looks phenomenal. I think it really serves well in retro games, where you have all this sharp architecture and stuff. And I think, for example, Control looks great with ray tracing. It's a very good game for ray tracing because it's got a lot of brutalist design, architecture, sharp angles, glass, different reflective materials. Ray tracing in that game, I think, is sublime. It's great. Oh, out of ammo. No, I'm not. Oh, look, I'm invulnerable, too. How did that happen? None living. Yeah, I may have played a large portion of the game, like, being bored, just and entertaining myself, cheating in this game. But that is to say, the Savage 4 has really good image quality as well, and it's something that's may overlooked a little bit, too, is that, because you compare it, like, for, you know, for example, Reva 128 or even the TNT, the Savage 4 stacks up very well when it comes to image quality and DOS quality. Very pleasing video outputs, so it has that going for it as well. So it's a very nice all-rounder card. I think this is the last level here. The last secret level. There's a secret in the secret.
Shoot level! Shoot level! Shoot level! Shoot level! Shoot level!
What? Punch that jerk. I cannot punch him. That's not gonna work. Takes multiple hits from the, multiple hits. There we go. They're still alive? So yeah, I think with ray tracing, it's really important in the application, also how it's applied. It has to be really the right situation for it. So some games, I think, look just phenomenal with it, and some are just like, whatever. This one was another secret here somewhere. course, we get to see the Commander Keen dolls here hanging, which is a little bit morbid. Of course, with id Software being the creator of both here, so... It takes you back out here, but yeah, anyway, DOS support, fantastic, good quality as well from that output, so it makes it a really nice card, especially if you want a good card that kind of does a little bit of everything with that good quality DOS output. It's a nice option then for, like, yeah, maybe a Super Socket 7 build or something, which arguably that may not take full advantage of the Savage 4, but it would also give it enough oomph to play anything really from that era just fine. And speaking of that, we'll switch to one of the sequels here to, well, Doom 2. Go to Quake 2, which runs in the OpenGL version here. There's no metal support, but it runs beautifully on here, which is very loud. Loading. One thing that I do like with RT is playing on a CRT, which feels like the ultimate move. It's fantastic, and I actually want to make a video on that at some point. RT on a CRT lends itself quite well. But here in Quake 2, this game runs smooth, nice. I think we're running at 1024 even. Because, I mean, this game is arguably not that difficult to run. It's pretty powerful card for Quake 2. I have a very specific memory of Quake 2 because years ago, I got a call from my cousin. He was, I mean, we were upper teenagers, whatever, and his friend was at a university and was going to have a LAN party in his dorm room, so my cousin invited me, and I got my parents out to drive me out there, which was just like an hour and a half away, so it wasn't that far. Brought my computer with me and my Pentium 2 300, and then we sat in this tiny dorm room. So my cousin, one of his other friends, with his girlfriend, and then the guy who lived there, all crammed in there. It was like one bed. I think I slept on a sleeping bag under the desk. But that was such a fun weekend. We just played games the entire time. You know, went out and got some food, came back and played some more, and that was a blast. So, and interesting enough, during that time, Windows 98 had just come out too, so it kind of dates it, I guess. Yeah, exactly. That might make me think of that same one, crammed in a small room, and I'm sure there was very, very nice odor in there. A whole bunch of people crammed into a small space, but it was such a wonderful memory. But Windows 98 had just come out, and I had the guy had acquired Windows 98, so I was trying to install it on my Windows 95 machine. A P2300, which was not playing nice. I kept having problems with it, a lot of problems. So I kept blue screening and problems, but after like the 5th or 6th try, we got Windows 98 on there, and it still was unstable. And you know, spent half the weekend just doing that, but it was fun too. I played Total Annihilation, like 4-player. And so I had a P2300, and the guy who was in the dorm room, that was his dorm room, he had a Pentium 1 like 233 or Pentium 1 200 or something. I remember him playing Total Annihilation, and that game is pretty CPU heavy, and he had built like a huge error mod that he sent to my bunkered up base with tons of anti-aircraft guns. And when all the flak started flying, and all those little particles in Total Annihilation started flying around, I looked at my screen and it was choppy, and I looked over at his, and it was just a slideshow. It was like a frame every 5 to 10 seconds until all those units cleared up, and it finally got somewhere. Yeah, so I think that the Savage 4 is a fine card for something like a earlier P3 or a later P2. It's honestly a good choice for that. If you don't have access to Voodoo, which of course is the kicker, right? That's usually the better choice, but I'm gonna look. I don't know if this is 32-bit color by default, even if this supports 32-bit color. Of course, we can run this at a low resolution. Let's take a look what we're running right now. We are at 1024, so, which, for Quake 2, I consider that pretty high resolution. You can go even higher, but, let's go down to 800 by 600. And let me fix the, there we go, it did fix itself. And now it runs even smoother. This is probably the way I would have played it back then, I think. It looks fine, you know, and this is faster than the Voodoo 2 would be, right? So, good image quality. So if you have OpenGL games like this, a good choice. And it feels pretty natural color-wise, too. You don't get the same kind of washed-up blurriness that the Glide dust tend to give with the 3DFX card. So it feels like a little bit of an overlooked card anymore. And also, I should say overlooked in the sense that it doesn't seem to be a pick often, but it's also not stupid expensive like a lot of the other maybe unique cards might be. I would like to get my hands on a G400 Max at some point too. I know that's a really good card, although it doesn't even have its... So I'm not sure if Matrox has its own API that works on anything that's unique to it, but the G400 is a good like all-rounder card, sort of like this one, and I'd like to get hold of that too eventually, but they tend to fetch a price too, so you can turn around. I do not have the CD in to play the Rockin' soundtrack here, but I think I would get a Content ID match immediately on that. Just the way it is with this. Let's get turn around here. There it is. Get him! Quake 2 is not bad. It just kind of feels a little bland now, doesn't it? Get him! But you got transparency. The water effect is so-so, I guess, but how many games use the Quake 2 engine? It's kind of silly thinking about it now. Oop, Sewers, whee! Did the awesome power swirl. Again, not a bad card for this kind of stuff, and it runs this stuff beautifully. Yeah, that's true. I haven't gotten very far in Quake 2. We did... I did stream this already. We played Quake 2 for quite a while, if I remember right. Or no, you know what I did? I think I sat down and just started playing Quake 2 on the Voodoo 2. On the K6 400, which I actually never really recorded or told anyone I upgraded. I just did it, but it's got that, like, the fastest Socket 7 you can get, which is a K2, I mean, at least one of the fastest, the K2 400 that runs with the special multiplier. Hate these jerks. Terrible. I think I sat down. I'm gonna, like, play through Quake 2. And I got pretty far on that one, so maybe I'll pick it up again. It's fun to, like, it's not often I do that. I think a lot of us that do the retro stuff, we don't do that often. And just take, like, a game and, like, I'm going to sit down and play this now. Because we're always testing or swapping out, and that's, of course, a big part of the hobby, and it's fun. But sometimes it's also fun to just actually sit down and play. And that's what I did one night. I decided I'm going to play Quake 2 on the Voodoo 2. And got quite a ways. With the music and everything. I don't remember the last time I played Quake 2, like, seriously, so... Here now, of course, the CPU here is also quite overkill for this game. A P3700 is definitely a lot faster than would have been around a Quake 2 launch. I mean, it could play Quake 3, obviously. But I still think a, you know, a mid-range or faster P3 is a great, like, all-rounder machine for this era. I actually feel the colors are, like, a little more... almost muted or even. I feel like the Voodoo cards tend to go over the top with the colorization in this game almost. I don't know. It has a pleasing image, is what I'm saying. I'm just getting into playing Quake 2 now. There's the exploding glass. That was the style at the time. Great animation there. It's good. Quake 1 definitely with 9 Inch Nail stuff. It's very, and this is 2 pretty. This is a good soundtrack too. This is a really good one by itself. I think it's made by an actual band. Not that Quake 1 isn't, but it's like Sonic something. Can't remember. Anyway, that's Quake 2. We're not going to play too long of it, but it runs great. It's a great choice again for the Savage 4. I'm trying to think of other games now. And just to reiterate for those that didn't see it, the settings are pretty bare bone inside of here. Sonic Mayhem, yes, thank you. That's what I was thinking of. I remember seeing that or hearing about it. I think I watched a Civi 11 video not too long about it. Or no, G-Man Lives video about Quake 2. The ports, which are pretty impressive. I mean, this is the realm of the earlier Pentium 1 and Pentium 2, or not, Pentium 2, Pentium 1, Voodoo 1, Voodoo 2 kind of stuff is perfect for that. But yeah, I wish there was more options in the driver because you can't do anything at all with these settings here. There's literally nothing you can do, which is a bummer, of course, because it would be nice to be able to mess with some more stuff. Let's see, what else should we try? See what I was thinking of. Yeah, we'll go into Deep Space Nine in the fall and see if I've had the CD in for this one or not. Yep. I have, there it is. This is, of course, an Unreal-based game. So that means that we, again, have, we have metal warning. Which, again, a lot of these games that are Unreal-based have support for it natively. And it would be nice if, well, it has to be an interest in the community, right? If there are ways to port the support, like you can, in theory, take some of these and extend it to maybe other Unreal-based games that never got official metal support, for example. You can maybe take that, and that's the thing that works with the GL Quake, is that you actually are using, I believe, a version of the GL... the metal DLL files from a different game into Quake 1, and that's how you're able to make that custom work. So some of the games you can do that with. Just a question of, does the community want to do that? And someone has to understand it, too. Because they're like, there's no, like, deep benefit of doing that, right? So, except the neatness factor.
Access granted.
So yeah, let's see on the video here, we have S3 Metal for Windows. And medium, so we're running almost exactly what we ran like within Unreal Tournament, right? It's exactly... Got a little further in here. We did stream Deep Space Nine a lot.
Adjust your phaser's modulation to match their shield harmonics.
Got my laser. This runs okay. We have some pretty gnarly transparency here going on with 16-bit, as we can see.
Help me! Somebody! Help me! Somebody!
You found it? The MP3. And here, metal runs great. It's very, very metal. Or great may not be the best. Get him, Cisco. Okay, it's not running super great. There's a lot of little weird stuff happening there. We did stream this game fully, so it is... Cannot scan that. Oh, that's right, I remember. You have to use the mouse wheel to send the communication here. I think. Yeah. So you want to talk to them, but I can't because I don't have a mouse wheel mouse here. Yeah. Anyway. I think I had to plug in a wheel mouse when we streamed it so that you can actually use that, because you can't really with just, which I do not have currently. I have a 2-button regular mouse. And this was it was a neat game. Very Star Trek-y. Maybe a little rough around the edges, it felt like. But it was pretty impressive what they tried to do with this. It was like kind of like a precursor to how they were going to do Elite Forces later, which is arguably even better, so... We just streamed Elite Force 2. I did stream Elite Force 1 way back. Well, we probably are due to stream 2. Frequency 21.6. Aha! A charge! First try. It's like, here's metal, like, this is kind of average middle of the road, kind of how metal is performing, right? So it's not the best, not the worst. Could definitely be a lot worse, but it's still more than passable, so... but the question is, it's like, if the would be possible to... I mean, you could probably run this in OpenGL. It might run just as good. So maybe we should try that and see how it runs.
Objectives.
Of course, you can't make any changes here, it looks like.
Mission objectives. Tactical communication. Retrieved files.
Okay, here we go.
Access granted.
We have best detail. We can change this then. You can restart and change your driver, and actually we'll... S3 video card required. So you can also run a direct 3D. So, Rio TNT, TNT2, ATI, blah, 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 and S374. It actually calls that out specifically recommended. So, well, I guess let's run with direct 3D instead. Also recommended. So versus OpenGL, and see how it runs. But it's nice that the card is flexible enough to do that kind of stuff too. Not saying that, I mean, I think every 3D card from this era will support,
Access granted.
you know, direct 3D, or should. But it's actually got pretty good direct 3D support, so... Because again, the question is, like, is metal better? Not always. In some cases, in many games, direct 3D runs just as fine. It feels pretty comparable. I don't have to look at direct comparisons, but it feels like it looks even a little sharper to me. Yeah, that's just me. And it's just like, again, metal is neat, but not always the best choice either, so... Although it does seem like it runs smoother. I mean, I don't have direct comparison here now, but... Yeah, it seems like it runs a little choppier in Direct 3D, but it does... Oh, wow. It does look good, so... That's true, that was Descent enemies. Kablamo! Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, hit or miss in the sense that it's not like Metal in this case here was just like a silver bullet of like, wow, the game runs great, or like with Glide, which is almost universally a better option to use when available. It's more efficient. And, you know, Metal might have gotten there given enough time, too, but it just never, you know, never got to that point. So, be that as it may, it's like, here we are. That means that Metal is a curiosity now, and is neat to use in the games that do support it, but I don't think S3TC is exclusive to Metal. It can be used with Direct 3D and stuff, too, unless I'm completely mistaken there, but... Give me a keycard. Got no more power. You can't do a flip, Cisco. He's a lot more,
Hey, over here!
trying to deal with something. There we go. We played this game. Found it to be very, very Mace-like for a large portion of what we're playing it, but still neat to see. I ain't got time for that.
Retrieve files.
And you, of course, can play the entire campaign through 3 different characters, so that's a neat replayability there that may not have had before, so... That's a little more racing. Midtown Madness is a classic. I'm going to detect my hardware accelerator here. And again, I think it's a great card for this type of era, right? It has a little bit of everything. No, we're going to go 800, 600. This is not S3, it's just finding it. But... max lighting quality. Max. Let's see if we can do that. Driver X. The cruise. That's fine. Probably gotta do the Beetle, because it's just part of it. Not the best, not the fastest, but it's iconic in this game, so...
Now would be a great time to explore every nook and cranny of this demon metropolis.
Perfect. And it looks really good. I mean, it's... I don't know if it looks better or not than the other cards, or the other renders, but it runs great. Real nice image quality. So I think that the Savage 4 is a mighty fine accelerator card in general when taken by itself, because if you put it up against a TNT, it's about equal, but then the TNT 2, I believe, blows it out of the water as far as performance goes. I can't say on image quality. I might think the Savage has a little bit of an edge there. And of course, you do have the nicety with the Metal when it does work with S3TC. So it's got some neat things going for it. I could see it being a really nice, like, mid-range Pentium 3 or late Pentium 2 pairing for, I mean, a lot of retro games from this era. Certainly would have had a good experience playing it. Get out of my way. Oh, there's the HUD. Say, where is that? It's funny, I remember playing this game back when roughly when it came out, or thought it was, you know, new. It was like, wow, you can drive around the whole city. It looks so like, wow. And now you're so used to open world games like this that are so detailed. I mean, it's pretty neat when you think back to it, but yeah, it's a little rough around the edges now. you forget how far games have come as far as, like, you know, steering in racing games and fidelity, and especially now that we're getting these, like, 100+ gig games. Like, they look so good compared to a lot of older games. We're nitpicking the visuals stuff. Like, I'm looking at Starfield now, and I'm excited to play it, and people were complaining it's 30 FPS, and, like, you know, if it's designed around it, then so be it. But look at the stuff and what you can do in that game, how far video games have really come. It's pretty crazy, and what we expect out of them now. I like the vehicles that they changed lanes there and just kind of clip to the next one. We have a Matrix reloaded highway scene here. Taking my Beetle that's smoking down the highway at 130 miles an hour. I'm not sure I would like to drive this, what I'm assuming is very aerodynamically inefficient vehicle at 130. But that is to say, the Savage 4 does it beautifully, so I think that the card has kind of like a forgotten status in that sense. It gets overlooked because, I mean, it's not special, super special. The S3TC is, let's see, what was the controls again? Is that a repair one? I don't think so. What is a wide angle? W. Huh. Oh. Nice. You could, in theory, play it on a... Nice. Yep. Watch Dogs felt like it came right in the middle of all the Ubisoft, like, all... How many open world games can we make? Played that a little bit. It was free on PS Plus, I think, and I had it on PS3, if I remember right. Maybe. Got it free somewhere. Evening NG Play. Welcome. Yeah, we're just kind of roaming around right now. Whoops, sorry, my bad. Whoop, smack. Wasn't my fault, officer, I promise. This is fine. This is fine. Much for a regular, leisurely drive. Whoop, I lost a couple of wheels. There we go. Fine now. Just like it works in real life. It was really neat. I like all the concepts that are behind it. I just never got that far in it because I'm not very good at finishing games. But it was before open world fatigue kind of set in the sense that there were so many open world games coming out after that one. Especially Ubisoft ones. That is just kind of like, you know, it's kind of a tired genre now, which we'll see if Starfield can... There's a jump there, huh? Hey, I'm just trying to jump here, man. Whee! What a jump. That's how I'd expect a beetle to jump, so... It is funny how far we've come. It runs a lot smoother like this, I guess. So you could probably run this 640 by 480 and really try it. What if we try and crank it? Can we do that? Graphics. So... No, you can't set the... Let's turn on all the settings here to... Oh, yeah! Now we're talking. Yeah, it'll be fun to explore, it would be really fun. Look at the cars. They look like test drive 286 level cars. It would be fun to explore, actually, and make a little bit of a video, honestly, to compare old games at the lowest settings and see how they look compared to the normal, like we're used to. Half-Life 2 low settings. Not necessarily resolution lows, but just the quality settings. Because this actually looks pretty funny. It's just so flat, it's hilarious, and something that would have been able to run on basically PS1 level. Yeah, that was crazy, and that also testament how safe modern cars are, but I saw that they just launched off. Oh, my wheel! What officer? I was driving here. Yeah, they did not land very well, or like, we look back at some of the shows, right, where they jump cars, like, you know, Knight Rider and Dukes of Hazzard and stuff like that. Most of those cars did not survive the jumps very well at all, you know. So yeah, that's a game that runs great there as well. Let's see, I had a list here of other games I had piled up here. Let's see, which ones do I have? That's right. I was curious to see how Homeworld looked. We'll try that real quick, and I'm probably going to call it there for tonight. So far, so good on the internet here now, or the connection for a little bit. So maybe it's that retro computer or the retro NAS I have plugged in over here. I'll have to see if the next time I stream if that's unplugged again and see if that fixes the problem I see. Who knows? Now, this game does not have Savage. There's no metal. No metal. I should have had a thing or banner that pops up that says no metal. There's no metal support in this game, unfortunately, at all. I won't play this very long because, I mean, it's a deep narrative game, so. Let's see what we have for settings here now. Video. Oh. I don't want to run installation, you jerk. I went in the game. It's the worst at the autoplay, and a lot of those wouldn't deal with that, so. Okay. At least, this is a creepy atmosphere of this game. Nothing to load. Yeah, this game was kind of revolutionary in the sense that this was a full 3D, or full within reason, space RTS. And it's complicated. I never got that far in it. I love playing it because the storyline and everything is just amazing. It's got a very nice vibe to it. Like they dig in the desert.
Years ago, a satellite detected an object under the sands of the Great Desert.
And they find a tablet or something, and all it says on it is home. It's got a great style to it. And I have not played Deserts of Karak, which is the prequel to this game. I really should. Which basically tells about this stuff, I think. The idea being is that the people living on this planet here now realize that this is not their home planet. That's not where they came from. A huge starship, etc. I think Macross did that too. I just want to see how it runs in the game engine here. Not terrific, but this is a bit of a later game for it too. We have the max detail here now. I remember this being... and there's a remaster of this now too, but it's just funny how blurred the textures are now. In my memory, these look like razor sharp. I'm pretty sure I played this on my TNT. I think I talked about it before. I'm just not 100% sure what cards I had at the time. I'm pretty sure it was TNT. Yeah, that might be. I also have the thing where I actually had artificially boosted the brightness a little bit in the capture to compensate for the way I'm capturing today, so. But, yeah, it also looks a little high.
Construction online.
Construction complete. I love the atmosphere in this game, and I really should play through it, or play. I'm not sure if I completed it when I was younger. I'm not sure I got that far, because it gets, like most of these RTS games, it gets pretty difficult as you move on.
Scaffold control, stand by for alignment.
But the atmosphere was just unlike anything else. It was quite beautiful too. But, yeah, it's again, funny looking at it now, and it's like, I just have such memories of it, like, it looks so good, and, like, the visual fidelity on it was amazing, and, like, the textures are pretty blurry now. They're really blurry. I imagine the, remaster of this one probably looks really good. I haven't played it. They're working on a new homeworld, I think, an actual homeworld 3, so...
The mothership has cleared the scaffold. We are away.
Because that was really revolutionary in the sense that there was a 3D RTS in space, where, you know, most of the RTS games at that time were 2D plane on the ground.
Stand by for command line testing.
But it's a complicated game. You really need a mouse wheel, which I do not have here. That would be very challenging to play this without a mouse wheel. And it's sluggish, but it's still more than playable, and you can probably turn down the settings a little bit to play it better.
Standing by.
Standing by.
Ready for orders.
Fleet intelligence going online.
Understood.
Our task is to analyze all sensor data and generate mission objectives. Before the hyperdrive tests, several trials must be completed. Test construction by building the primary research ship. Test resource processing by harvesting the asteroids provided nearby.
Hyperspace module charging.
There you go. It runs pretty well like this when you zoom now, but I just remember like the free-floating feeling here was just something new.
For the hyperdrive test in 10 minutes.
Nothing else I
Reporting for duty.
will harvest.
Reporting.
Stand by to begin combat trials. First, we will be monitoring formation performance. Target drones have been provided here. Assign a formation to your fighters.
Like a tutorial without enforced tutorial. I'm trying to think. I never really played them. I think like Sins of a Solar Empire and that kind of stuff has some of that style to it too, right?
Standing by.
Yeah, the camera controls are...
Destination confirmed.
Memories are flooding back.
Complete.
Reporting.
We're not that kind of channel here, Sucra.
The primary research ship has been constructed. The research division is online. Begin fighter chassis research immediately.
Mothership. Commencing heavy fighter chassis research.
Ready for orders.
You really get the sense you're in space. And there were some Star Wars mods on this game. Star Trek 2, I think. But it was... I remember looking at this game back then and thinking like, oh man, this is a gorgeous looking game because you have the space thing and a whole bunch of like wispy like looks out in space. And modern space games have, of course, just vastly... there's that texture, yeah. Because they have to scale to really, really tiny things too, right? It just, you know, to make it all fit into this huge grand scale, because you have frigates and like huge cruisers and battleships and everything too. So I just wanted to see how this runs. But here again, you could play this, I'm sure, and have a fantastic time all the way through with this machine and this kind of card. So it just shows the Savage 4 is just a really versatile card, and compares pretty favorably, I think, when you compare it to the TNT. The TNT 2 is probably going to walk it on performance and everything, but if you are looking at like a AGP base, I do not know that there's any PCI Savage 4, so there's that part. You can't put it on an older machine, because I think to myself, like, if you have a Pentium higher speed or something, it's a nice thing to maybe take a newer card and put it in that, but unless you have a super socket, you're going to have PCI. And when it comes to PCI, it's pretty much Voodoo 1, and the Voodoo 1 cards are stupid expensive now. So I think a Revo 128 or like some sort of Matrix card is really the only real options. At least with a Revo 128, you get, you know, 3D acceleration and stuff. Otherwise, you have the option of running a newer card like a Radeon 9250 or something on a PCI. That's a good one for a Pentium 2 or Pentium 3 PCI only machine. But there aren't that many other cards that would work in a late Pentium or a K6, K6-2 kind of thing. Which is unfortunate, because Voodoo cards are the best for that, probably. Voodoo 1 and S3. But there aren't any. So there's unfortunately no Savage 4 with the PCI, to my knowledge. It's an AGP only card. Yeah, that's Homeworld. We're not going to play it too long, because it's a very slow and plodding game. Maybe we'll stream Homeworld sometime, but it's got to be in a particular mood to play an RTS of that speed. So I guess the internet's been fine, and the connection's been fine since... whatever. I have to see if the issue is with my RetroNAS that it's doing something. It's a Linux machine, so it's on a similar network, so I unplugged it completely. That's been a problem since. So we'll see if it was that simple. If that's been my source of my pain the whole time. Or not. I'm not sure if there's something else. But anyway, I appreciate everyone hanging out. Probably going to call it there for tonight. Playing on the Savage 4, which is the Extreme that I do not have that's working, but maybe I can get this working. That's a nice card, but I like the Savage 4 quite a bit. And the video I did on it was very well received, so that was a nice feeling too. But if you have happen to cross paths with the Savage 4, I do think it's worth picking up. It is a fun card, and has a lot of things going for it, especially in some games with S3TC more than metal, but hey, everything goes. So appreciate everyone hanging out, and hopefully the stream holds up. Next week, we'll find out. Stay tuned to find out. And I'll see everyone else online, and have a good weekend. So, good night. Have a good weekend, good week, and I'll see you next week. Good night.